My own son looked me in the eyes and called me a disgrace when he found out I left everything to my daughter. He believed the house, the money, and my estate were his birthright, and when I refused to obey, he declared war on me. He dragged me through court, tried to have me declared senile, and even paid off friends to lie about me. I felt humiliated, betrayed, and heartbroken. But in the end, his greed and lies came crashing down, and justice showed him the true meaning of disgrace. I never thought I would be the kind of father who had to ask strangers whether he was right or wrong. But here I am, sitting in my armchair, with a heavy heart, wondering if I truly did the right thing. My son looked me in the eyes last Christmas and told me, "Dad, you are a disgrace to this family." Those words cut deeper than any knife. And because of that moment, I made the hardest decision of my life. I left my entire estate, every last penny and piece of property, to my youngest daughter instead of him. Let me tell you the whole story, because it didn't happen overnight. I raised 2 children, my son Michael and my daughter Anna. Their mother, my beloved wife Linda, passed away 10 years ago. I did my best to keep the family together after her death, but grief changes people. Michael, my eldest, was always the golden boy. He was smart, athletic, and Linda doted on him. Anna, the younger one, was quieter, more sensitive. She spent most of her childhood in her brother's shadow. But when Linda passed, Anna stepped up in ways I never expected. She visited me every week, cooked meals, cleaned the house, and even drove me to my doctor's appointments. Michael, meanwhile, grew distant. He started making excuses: work, stress, travel. I tried to understand. But as the years went by, the distance turned into coldness. The turning point came during last Christmas dinner. We were sitting around the table, me, Anna, her kids, and eventually Michael showed up, late as always. He walked in, already in a bad mood, complaining about traffic and money. Halfway through dinner, he announced that he expected to inherit the house when I passed away. He said it like it was a given, like Anna didn't even exist. I calmly told him that I hadn't made final decisions yet, and that everything would be fair. That's when he slammed his fork down and said, "Dad, if you don't give me what's rightfully mine, you're a disgrace. A shame to this family." I was stunned. Anna looked at him with tears in her eyes. I couldn't believe the entitlement in his voice. This wasn't the boy I raised. This was a man consumed by greed. I didn't yell. I didn't argue. I just looked at him and said, "Son, you may regret those words one day." He laughed, shrugged, and poured himself another drink. In the weeks that followed, I couldn't get his words out of my head. A disgrace. That's what my own son thought of me, simply because I wouldn't hand him everything he wanted. Meanwhile, Anna kept showing up. She shoveled my driveway when it snowed. She fixed my leaky faucet. She sat with me during my bad nights when the memories of Linda came back. She never once asked about money, never once hinted about inheritance. She just loved me for being her father. So I made a choice. I rewrote my will. Everything, my house, my savings, even my old truck, went to Anna. I didn't do it out of revenge. I did it because she earned it with her heart, her care, her respect. When Michael finds out, I know there will be hell to pay. But deep down, I believe it's the right thing to do. This story isn't over yet, though. Because after I changed my will, word got around, and Michael discovered the truth. That's when things took a darker turn than I ever could have imagined. When Michael found out about the will, all hell broke loose. I thought he might be upset, maybe even stop talking to me for a while. I was ready for silence, for distance. But I wasn't ready for the storm he unleashed on our entire family. It started with a phone call. My phone rang one evening, and when I answered, his voice was filled with rage. "Dad, I heard from Aunt Carol that you left everything to Anna. Is this true?" His tone wasn't that of a son asking for clarity. It was an accusation, a threat. I took a deep breath and told him the truth. "Yes, Michael. I made my decision. Anna has been here for me. She has cared for me, respected me, loved me without condition. It felt right." There was a pause, and then he exploded. "You're insane. She manipulated you. She's been playing the sweet daughter just to get her hands on your money. Do you really think she cares about you? She's a parasite, Dad, and you're falling for it." His words stung, but they didn't feel true. Anna never once asked for anything. She just showed up, over and over again, when he didn't. Still, hearing my son speak about his sister that way broke my heart. I said quietly, "Michael, don't talk about your sister like that." "You're wrong." That's when he shouted, "No, Dad. You're wrong. You're destroying this family." And he hung up. But it didn't stop there. The next week, he showed up at my house unannounced. I was sitting in the living room when he barged through the front door without knocking, his face red with anger. "We're going to fix this nonsense right now," he said, waving some papers in his hand. I stood up slowly, my knees aching, and asked, "What are those?" He slammed them on the coffee table. "Lawyer contacts. We'll contest it. You're not in your right mind. I'll prove you're unfit, and then I'll get what's mine." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My son, my own flesh and blood, was threatening to declare me mentally unfit, just to grab my house and money. I said firmly, "Michael, get out. I won't be threatened in my own home." He sneered, picked up his papers, and stormed out, slamming the door so hard the picture frames rattled on the walls. That night, I sat alone, staring at the empty chair where Linda used to sit. I whispered to her, "What happened to our boy? Where did we go wrong?" I could almost hear her voice telling me to stand firm, to protect Anna, to do what was right. Things escalated further at a family gathering. My niece had invited us all for her birthday, and I thought maybe being around the family would calm things down. But Michael arrived already heated. The moment he saw Anna, he started shouting across the room, "You think you're clever, don't you? Worming your way into Dad's heart, stealing what's supposed to be mine." Everyone froze. Anna, bless her heart, tried to stay calm. She said softly, "Michael, this isn't about money. I just want Dad to be okay." But he wasn't listening. He turned to the entire room and declared, "When Dad's gone, I'll make sure she doesn't see a dime. I'll drag her through court until she's bankrupt." The whole family gasped. My sister Carol pulled him aside, but the damage was done. Anna left the party in tears. I followed her outside and hugged her. "Don't you listen to him," I said. "You've done nothing but love me, and I won't let him take that away." She nodded, but I could see the hurt in her eyes. A father can't stand to see his child suffer like that. In the following days, I started getting calls from relatives, cousins, in-laws, even old friends, asking why I had cut Michael out. Clearly, he was telling everyone his version of the story, that Anna was a manipulator, that I was senile, that the will was unfair. He painted himself as the victim. I knew I had to make a choice, either stay silent and let him twist the narrative, or speak up and tell the truth. So, I invited the family over for Sunday dinner. Anna helped me cook, just like old times. When everyone was seated, I stood up. My voice trembled, but I spoke with conviction. "I want everyone to hear this from me. Yes, I left my estate to Anna. Not because of manipulation. Not because I love Michael less. But because she has been here for me. She has cared for me every day since your Aunt Linda passed. Michael, I love you, but love isn't measured in dollars. Respect and care matter more than inheritance." The room went silent. Michael's face turned crimson. He slammed his fist on the table and shouted, "You'll regret this, old man." Then he stormed out. Some family members shook their heads. Others looked down at their plates, ashamed. But a few, Carol, my brother John, even Anna's kids, came up and hugged me, whispering, "You did the right thing." It was one of the hardest nights of my life. But it was also the first time I felt free of Michael's intimidation. Still, I knew this wasn't over. I could see it in his eyes. He wasn't done fighting. And I had no idea how far he was willing to go. Because just a week later, I found out he had taken the next step, one that would tear the family apart even further. I thought Michael's threats were just words, fueled by anger. But I was wrong. A week later, I received an official-looking envelope in the mail. When I opened it, my hands shook. It was a legal notice. My son had hired an attorney and was filing a petition to contest my will. The papers claimed I was not of sound mind when I wrote it. In other words, my own son was trying to have me declared incompetent. I sat at my kitchen table staring at the documents for a long time. My first thought was, how could my child do this to me? My second thought was, Linda would never forgive him for this. I called Anna, and when she came over, I handed her the envelope. She read it, her face pale, and whispered, Dad, he's really going through with this. Tears welled up in my eyes. He wants to drag me through court like I'm some criminal. I never imagined this would be my life at 75. Fighting my own flesh and blood for the right to decide what happens with what I've earned. Anna hugged me tightly. You're not alone, Dad. We'll fight this together. The next days were a blur of phone calls, meetings, and stress. I had to hire my own lawyer, a kind woman named Margaret who specialized in elder law. She listened patiently as I explained everything. Your son has a steep hill to climb, she said. Unless he can prove you're incapable of making decisions, the will stands. But he's going to make it ugly. Be prepared. And ugly it became. Michael began spreading rumors everywhere. Neighbors came up to me at the grocery store, whispering, I heard you're not well. Is it true Anna's taking advantage of you? I could see the doubt in their eyes. Michael had poisoned the community with lies. He even showed up at church one Sunday, standing up after service to announce, Pray for my father. He's being manipulated, and we're trying to save him. I wanted to sink into the floor. The humiliation was unbearable. But the cruelest moment came at the first court hearing. Michael walked in with a polished lawyer and stacks of papers. He avoided looking at me, his own father, and instead presented his case like I was some stranger. His lawyer said I was forgetful, confused, prone to mistakes. They even brought up the time I locked my keys in the car, claiming it was proof I wasn't capable of managing my own affairs. I sat there clenching my fists, my cheeks burning with shame. When it was my turn to speak, Margaret asked me simple questions. My full name, date of birth, the names of my children, the president's name, even some math. I answered clearly. My voice was steady. I wanted the judge to see me not as some frail old man, but as a father betrayed by his own son. When it ended, the judge looked directly at Michael and said, From what I can see, your father is perfectly capable of making decisions. This matter will proceed, but be aware, the burden of proof is on you. Michael's jaw tightened. He glared at me like I was his enemy. For the first time, I realized this wasn't about family anymore. It was about power, control, and greed. That evening, Anna made me tea. She said quietly, Dad, I think Michael is terrified. Not of losing money, but of losing control over you. He can't stand that you're standing up to him. Her words rang true. Michael had always expected to be the center of attention, the heir, the golden child. By choosing Anna, I shattered that illusion. But instead of accepting it, he doubled down. He began showing up at my house late at night, banging on the door, shouting through the windows, Dad, this isn't over. You'll regret this. Anna's going to destroy everything. The neighbors called the police once, but he managed to leave before they arrived. I started sleeping with the phone next to my bed, my heart racing every time I heard a noise outside. The stress began to take a toll. My blood pressure spiked. I lost weight. One night, I collapsed while walking to the bathroom. Anna rushed me to the hospital. As I lay in the hospital bed, hooked to machines, I thought, is this how it ends? My son dragging me to my grave, not with fists, but with cruelty? When Michael heard I was in the hospital, he didn't visit me. Not once. But Anna never left my side. She brought me soup, read to me, held my hand. In those quiet nights, I knew without a doubt that I had made the right choice with a will. Michael might win in court, but morally, he had already lost. When I was discharged, Margaret gave me stern advice. We need to strengthen your case. Michael is determined, and he may bring in false witnesses, maybe even doctors to testify against you. But we'll be ready. And ready we became. Anna gathered letters from neighbors and friends who had seen her caring for me daily. My doctor wrote a statement confirming that, yes, I had normal age-related issues, but nothing that impaired my judgment. My pastor even wrote a letter about my clarity and my devotion to family. Piece by piece, we built a wall of truth against Michael's lies. But then came the moment that shocked me the most. At the next hearing, Michael produced a witness, someone I hadn't seen in years. My old friend, George. He took the stand and said, I've seen him forget things. I've seen him confused. I don't think he knows what he's doing with his money anymore. My heart sank. George and I had been fishing buddies for decades. For him to stand there and speak against me felt like a knife in the back. I whispered to Anna, why would George do this? She looked at Michael's smug face and whispered back, because Michael paid him. At that moment, I realized just how low my son was willing to go. This wasn't just a fight about inheritance anymore. This was a war, and Michael would stop at nothing to win. But little did he know, the next twist was coming. Because while he thought he was building his case against me, Anna had uncovered something about him, something that could turn the tide completely. The betrayal from my old friend George nearly broke me. Sitting in that courtroom, hearing him twist small lapses into evidence of senility, I felt as though the ground had been pulled out from under me. Michael sat there smirking, as if he had already won. But what he didn't know, what none of them knew, was that Anna had been quietly working on something that would turn the entire battle upside down. It started with a suspicion. Anna had always noticed how Michael seemed desperate about money. His rants about the inheritance weren't just about pride, they were about survival. Bills piled up, credit collectors calling, and rumors of failed business ventures circled. Anna decided to dig deeper. One evening, after another exhausting day in court, she sat at my kitchen table with her laptop. "Dad," she said, her voice low, "I think I found something." She turned the screen toward me. There it was, bankruptcy filings, credit card debt in the hundreds of thousands, and even a foreclosure notice on a property Michael had secretly bought and lost. "He's drowning in debt," she explained. "That's why he's after your estate. Without it, he's ruined." My stomach turned. So it wasn't just greed, it was desperation. My son wasn't fighting for pride. He was fighting because he had gambled his life away and saw me as his last lifeline. Anna didn't stop there. She discovered something darker. "Dad, look at this," she whispered, pulling up a series of documents. Michael had taken out a loan under a company name, then funneled money through it, effectively defrauding a business partner. "If this comes to light," she said, "he won't just lose in court. He could face criminal charges." I was stunned. My own son, committing fraud? The boy I had taught to ride a bike, the boy whose little league games I cheered for, now reduced to this? Part of me wanted to protect him, to bury this information. But another part, the part that had been humiliated, threatened, dragged through court, knew this was the key to ending his tyranny. At the next hearing, Michael strutted in like a king. His lawyer was confident, his witnesses lined up. He thought victory was certain. But when it was our turn, Margaret, my lawyer, stood calmly and said, "Your Honor, before we proceed further, the defense has evidence regarding the petitioner's credibility." The judge raised an eyebrow. "Proceed." Margaret presented the documents Anna had uncovered. Bankruptcy, fraud, foreclosure, lies stacked upon lies. She laid it all out, piece by piece, until the courtroom was buzzing with whispers. Michael's face turned from smugness to shock, then to rage. He stood up, shouting, "This is irrelevant. This has nothing to do with the will." The judge banged his gavel. "Sit down, Mr. Parker. You are in my courtroom, and you will respect the process." I looked across the room at Michael. His eyes were wild, desperate. For the first time, I didn't see my son, I saw a man cornered by his own greed. But it wasn't over yet. Michael's lawyer tried to dismiss the evidence, but the judge ordered an investigation. "If this information is true," the judge said sternly, "it severely undermines the petitioner's credibility. We will adjourn until further review." Outside the courtroom, Michael lunged at Anna, his face twisted with fury. "You think you've won? You've ruined me. You'll pay for this." Security pulled him back as Anna stood her ground. She didn't flinch. "No, Michael," she said firmly. "You ruined yourself." Those words echoed in my mind all night. She was right. I hadn't destroyed my son. He had destroyed himself, piece by piece, choice by choice. But the climax came a week later when the judge reconvened the hearing. After reviewing the documents, he declared, "The petitioner's financial misconduct raises serious questions about his motives in this case. It appears Mr. Parker's primary interest is not his father's well-being, but rather financial gain to alleviate his own debts. Accordingly, this court finds no grounds to contest the will. The estate shall remain as written." Gasps filled the room. Anna squeezed my hand. Relief washed over me like a wave. It was done. Michael had lost. But Michael didn't accept defeat gracefully. He stood up, his voice cracking with rage. "You're all against me. This isn't over." He stormed out of the courtroom, slamming the doors behind him. I sat there, trembling, a mixture of sorrow and victory in my heart. I had won, yes. Justice had prevailed. But as a father, what did it mean to win against your own child? The victory was bitter. That night, Anna and I sat by the fireplace. She handed me a cup of tea and said softly, "Dad, you did the right thing. You protected yourself. You protected what Mom would have wanted." I nodded slowly, staring at the flames. "Yes," I whispered. "But I lost my son." And yet, deep down, I wondered if I ever really had him to begin with. Still, I believed in karma. And I had a feeling Michael's story was far from over. Because when a man builds his life on lies, eventually those lies come crashing down. And soon, they did, faster and harder than anyone could have imagined. After the court ruled in my favor, I thought the nightmare might finally be over. The will was safe, Anna was protected, and justice had been served. But I underestimated how far Michael's desperation, and his anger, would take him. The weeks following the ruling were eerily quiet. No late-night phone calls, no angry banging on my door. For a moment, I almost believed Michael had accepted defeat. Anna and I tried to settle back into a routine. Sunday dinners, doctor visits, small joys like sitting on the porch watching the sunset. But deep inside, I had a nagging feeling. Silence from Michael never meant peace. It meant plotting. And I was right. One afternoon, Anna rushed into the house, her face pale. She was holding her phone, shaking. "Dad, you need to see this." She showed me a news article from the local paper. Michael had been arrested. Fraud, embezzlement, wire fraud, the very crimes Anna had uncovered were now front-page headlines. His business partner had pressed charges after learning the truth. The article described it all in painful detail. How Michael had borrowed money under false pretenses, how he had falsified documents, how he had tried to cover it all up. I sat there, stunned. My son, my golden boy, was now a criminal in the eyes of the world. A few days later, I received a letter from him. It was scrawled, messy, full of rage and despair. "Dad, you destroyed me. You and Anna. If you had just given me what I deserved, none of this would have happened. You're not my father anymore." I held that letter in my hands for a long time. My heart ached. Even after everything he had done, I still wanted to see a glimmer of the boy I once knew. But there was nothing. Just bitterness, blame, and hatred. Anna saw the pain in my eyes. She touched my shoulder gently. "Dad, don't let his words poison you. He made his choices. This isn't your fault." I nodded, but my chest felt heavy. A father never stops loving his child, even when that child has turned into a stranger. The weeks turned into months. Michael's trial was a spectacle. Witnesses came forward. Old partners exposed his lies. The evidence was overwhelming. I didn't attend, I couldn't bear to watch, but Anna kept me informed. Eventually, the verdict came, guilty on multiple counts. Michael was sentenced to several years in prison. When I heard the news, I closed my eyes and whispered, "Linda, I'm sorry. I couldn't save him." But in a strange way, I realized justice had come full circle. Michael had tried to destroy me, to strip Anna of her care and devotion, to claim what was never his by right. And in the end, his greed destroyed him instead. Karma doesn't miss. One evening, not long after the sentencing, Anna and I sat on the porch. The sun was setting, casting golden light over the yard. She looked at me with soft eyes and said, "Dad, you know, Mom would be proud of you. You stood up for yourself. You honored the love and respect that really mattered. That's all she would have wanted." I swallowed the lump in my throat. I just wish it didn't come to this. I never wanted war with my son. Anna held my hand. "Sometimes love means drawing boundaries, even when it hurts. You gave him every chance. He chose this path, not you." Her words gave me peace. The house felt warmer after that, lighter. I started to sleep better. My blood pressure stabilized. I laughed more with Anna's kids when they visited. I even found myself humming old songs as I worked in the garden. For the first time in years, I felt like I had reclaimed my dignity. As for Michael, I heard bits and pieces. He tried to appeal, but the courts denied him. Friends stopped visiting him. The family stopped defending him. The world moved on, and he was left to face the consequences of his own choices. In the end, I realized something important. Inheritance isn't about money. It's about values. What you leave behind isn't just property. It's lessons, love, and the legacy of how you treat people. Michael believed inheritance was a right. Anna understood it was a gift. And that's why she received it. So here I sit now, an old man by the fire, reflecting on it all. My son called me a disgrace. But in the end, the disgrace was his, not mine. Because respect, love, and loyalty cannot be bought or demanded. They must be earned. And Anna earned them every day. The moral of the story? Sometimes, justice doesn't come the way you expect. Sometimes it's painful, messy, and full of heartbreak. But it always finds its way. Greed destroys itself. Love survives. And when I'm gone, I know my estate will be in the hands of the child who truly valued me, not for what I had, but for who I was. That, to me, is the real inheritance.